You'll love that.
Download our app today and enjoy tackle-busting benefits with great odds, more markets and same-game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.
Hello and welcome to episode 436 of Fergo and the Freak. I'm the bloke from Rugby League Project, Andrew Ferguson. You can find me on Twitter at AndrewRLP. Join me as always as a glorious League Freak. You can also find on Twitter at League Freak. How you going there, mate?
I'm going well, Andrew. It's been a while since we've done a podcast. This is our weekly preview and this is the final round of the NRL regular season. So there's some interesting matchups here, and we're doing it all thanks to Palmerbet.com, our wonderful sponsors this season. You go to Palmerbet.com and start an account with them. They've got really, really good betting odds. They're very good people. They've been great with us this year, and we'll be obviously taking the Palmerbet odds right through to the grand final. And remember, always gamble responsibly.
Most importantly.
Yeah.
As far as our episodes this week, mate, I feel like you're trying to get something back out of me after all those episodes I've missed in the last 12 months.
Look, this is the torture that you deserve.
You're flogging the horse, man.
Yeah. Well, someone's got to flog that horse, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, we're having an old-fashioned Fergo and the Freak week where we're doing so many episodes. It's great.
We're just spamming your ears.
Yeah.
So let's get into it, shall we?
Okay, well, on Thursday evening, we see the Parramatta Eels hosting the Melbourne Storm. Now, you've got to keep in mind, some of these teams are resting players. Some of these teams will go into the game and then decide to rest players. It's all going to be a little bit up in the air. Some teams have to win their games, so they can't rest players. So if the odds sound a bit funny for some games, that's all it is. So the Parramatta Eels hosting the Melbourne Storm. Palmerbet.com has the head-to-head with the Parramatta Eels at $2, while the Melbourne Storm are at $1.80. The Melbourne Storm have a 1.5-point handicap, while with a 1.5-point head start, and they're at $1.90, I should say. With a 1.5-point head start, the Parramatta Eels are also at $1.90. I don't know who I'm going to choose for this one.
Would you like me to throw some numbers at you?
Yeah, give me some numbers.
See if we can sway you.
Okay.
Parramatta have won their last 3 games against the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
They've never beaten the Storm in 4 straight games before, though. Okay. Melbourne have lost to Parramatta both times they've been played at the Eels' new home ground, CommBank Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
And Parramatta have won all 3 games that they've played this year against top 4 teams. 2 of them against Penrith and 1 against the Storm.
This is for a place in the top 4.
Is it?
I'm pretty sure it is, yeah.
Oh, with results falling a certain way?
Let's double check that. I'm pretty sure it's for a place in the top 4 though. And I think that's why the Storm haven't.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, haven't rested anyone.
Yeah, it will be.
Okay, so that's why the Storm haven't rested anyone. They are both on 32 competition points.
Yes.
Whoever wins this gets that 4th place at the very least.
That's right. Which is basically a second chance, whereas the loser gets a home final.
I think that the Storm will probably win. I have to tip the Parramatta Eels because I'm trying to beat Julie in the tipping competition, and she's tipping the Storm. I can't lose to her. So I'm going to have to tip the Eels, but I think the Storm will win this one because they tend to win games that they have to win.
Outside of the finals, yes.
Well, yeah, but then the finals are a bit of a different beast.
They are.
It's not often the Melbourne Storm let you down, even in the finals.
I'll say this too, Melbourne will want to win because if they lose this and the ladder stays as it is, they would be playing Canberra, I believe, in the first week of the finals at Amy Park. And Canberra are the second most successful team at Amy Park, and I believe they've won their last 4 straight games there.
Wow, wouldn't that make a match up?
Yeah, so just to let you know, the top 2 most successful teams at Amy Park, Melbourne, 108 wins, Canberra, 7 wins.
Okay, who's third?
Manly, I think, with 3 wins and a draw.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
From memory, Penrith got half as many wins at Amy Park as the West Tigers do.
Well, they have 1.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, shit, that's funny. So your tip, who are you tipping in this one?
I'm going to go with Melbourne on this one.
Okay. Yeah. It's hard to tip against them when there's so much on the line, hey?
That's right. And yeah, I think it's just it's a game that Melbourne will want to win to get into finals mode, so to speak.
Is this the first proper must-win game test for the Eels, do you reckon?
Well, they've been on a pretty strong run. I think when you look back their last 10 games, they've not done too badly. There's been a few dodgy sort of results in there, but they've put out the big wins when they've needed to. That's the important thing.
But this is like almost a finals game in itself. This is like playing for a pretty big, like this is playing for a second chance in the finals.
That's right.
So it's a bit different, this one.
So in the last few weeks, they've had, round 15, they beat the Roosters, then they lost to South by 18. They beat the Tigers and the Warriors, as they should have done. They lost to the Broncos, and that was pretty much the end of the Broncos' hot form that they were in.
Mm.
They beat Penrith pretty comfortably. Penrith, they were missing a few players from memory.
Mm-hmm.
They beat Manly, which happened to be the trigger for Manly's very, very disastrous downward turn in form.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be honest, they got destroyed by South 26-0. And then the last 2 weeks, belted Canterbury 42-6 and then destroyed the Broncos 53-6. I mean, when you're coming into the finals and you're coming across teams that look vulnerable and you're a top team, winning is not your priority. Fucking destroying them is your priority because you need to prove that you deserve to be in the finals, and that's how you do it.
Yeah, yeah.
And they've been making that point. Their defence has started to pick up those last 2 weeks, and their attack has started to click again. So they actually are in some decent form.
Why are we sitting here going?
Because the Storm come off a loss last week.
Yes.
And they're not a team that likes to be outside the top 4 in the finals. And with that on the line, I just feel that they're going to come out and go, right, that's it. We're going to put the screws down. We've let Parramatta walk over us too much. It's time to let them know that we're fucking better than them. And that's what they'll do. They'll come out and they'll just put the screws on them.
Yeah, I get that feeling too. And I think that this might be this is the start of how good are you really, Parramatta? Regular season, we've seen it. We've seen it all before. We need to see it when it really matters, and now it matters all of a sudden. So
that's right.
Yeah, so let's see how they go. Now, first game, Friday night, the Canterbury Bankstown Berries take on the Manly Warringah Northern Sea Eagles. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs are on palmerbet.com in the head-to-head are favourites at $1.50, while the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles are at $2.60. The Manly Warringah Sea Eagles have a 6.5-point head start at $1.90, while the Canterbury Bulldogs have a 6.5-point handicap also at $1.90. If you had told people these were the betting odds in about round 6, no one would believe you.
No.
And if anybody doubted that there's a North Sydney jersey buried under the northern stand at Brookvale Oval and cursed the Manly Sea Eagles, just look at their season.
Exactly.
They lost Trbojevic for the season. They were in the finals of looking good, and then it all fell apart. They did the Pride jersey thing, and they're just gone. They are dead as a football team right now.
Right, well, Manly have conceded 40 points or more in each of their last 3 consecutive games, which is just the second time in their entire history that they've done that. Wow. The other time saw them do it across 5 straight games in the tail end of 2003. Mm-hmm. Furthermore, their first 12 games where they conceded 40-plus points in a game was spread over 50 years.
Whoa.
Their last 12 have happened since round 7, 2020.
Wow, that's interesting.
And as for head-to-head, the Bulldogs need 15 points to bring up 2,000 scored against Manly, and Manly need 54 points to bring up 2,500 in games scored solely against the Bulldogs.
Wow, how about that? Some milestones that could be there.
That's right. the moment, Manly's defence is the worst thing in the NRL right now.
Mm-hmm.
I would back the Tigers' defence over Manly's at the moment. That's how atrocious Manly's defence is.
Oh, wow.
And, well, look at it. They've conceded 49 points less than the Tigers.
Yeah.
Is that right? Jesus Christ, that is right. I thought I saw that wrong.
That's insane.
That's bad.
Yeah, that's insane. Hard to not tip the Bulldogs in this one when you take all of that into consideration. It'll be a good way to finish the Bulldogs season with a good win over Manly. The Bulldogs have come good since they got rid of Trent Barrett. They haven't set the world on fire, but damn, they're a different club at the moment. You just have to tip the Bulldogs in this one.
You have to. Their attack was looking really good for about 2 months there, but it's really fallen away the last 2 weeks when they've been up against in-form top 8 sides like Parramatta and Cronulla. They've only scored one converted try in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah, and you'd expect that. That.
But they've had 4 losses in a row, so I dare say that Mick Potter will be wanting them to finish on a high, get that win, and they'll have 12th locks down, which is a pretty good result considering where they were looking at the start of the year.
Yeah, look at if Potter had been in from the beginning, they might have been pushing for a final spot. But Barrett just had them just on the back foot. Yeah, it was terrible. It's terrible. Now, the Friday night game sees the Sydney City Roosters taking on the South Sydney Rabbitohs, loud and proud since 2002. The Sydney City Roosters in the head-to-head on palmerbet.com are at $1.80, while the South Sydney Rabbitohs are outsiders at $2. The South Sydney Rabbitohs have a 1.5 point head start at $1.90, while with the 1.5 point handicap, the Sydney City Roosters are also at $1.90. I think I am tipping the Rabbitohs in this one.
Yeah, this is going to be tight. I'm going Roosters by no more than a converted try. I don't even think the margin will be that high.
Mm-hmm.
Look, the interesting thing here, the Roosters back 3, and I know Tupu's not playing, but Tupou, Suwali, and Tedesco have scored 42 of their 108 tries this year. And 17 of those come in the last 7 games. And a lot of people will go, well, that's where their attack's going to be. But it's actually coming just inside them with Nat Butcher and Angus Crichton, who have both been in the second row. They've scored 11 tries between them, just those two. So just 6 tries less, but they've got one less player there in that same period. And it comes down to Keary's being returned to the side because he likes having those runners off his hip, close to the line.
Mm.
And so the Roosters' attack has gone from targeting the corners, and you've got 2 good targets and probably 2 of the best leapers in the game out there in the wings in Tupou and Suwali.
Mm-hmm. He's
now running that channel in the middle there. But those 2 guys are also smart enough to know how to get the ball outside them as well. So now they're, instead of having either just the narrow corridor on the edge of the ruck or the absolute wing corridor, they've now got the entire area outside the middle of the field as their attacking corridors, which is fucking insane.
Mm.
For the Bunnies, though, it's kind of similar. Latrell Mitchell, since he's come back, Souths have been insane, and he's scored 94 points in 10 games since he's come back, or 9 games since he's come back. Yeah, so he's scored 10 points a game since he's returned. At the same time, Alex Johnson has bagged 14 tries in those 9 games.
Mm-hmm.
Latrell is obviously running to Johnson's wing, where you can either kick to him over there if he needs to, you can pass to him, you can turn him inside, does whatever he likes. Those 2 are racking up at least 14 points a game over the last 9-10 weeks.
That's insane.
Okay, and so that's already an issue straight away. It's almost like automatic, bam, there's 14 points on the board.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to compete with, and that's insane that they're doing that. And as we've said, Latrell is cruising.
Yeah, it's not like you're watching him and you're like he's just killing himself out there. It's kind of weird to see. It's Greg Inglis like. Greg Inglis is really one of the only few players I could see do that. Yeah. So, and the other thing is too, like with Latrell, if he decides that he wants to win the game and that's it, the game is won, which is really super scary, I think, for everyone. So that's why I'm tipping the Bunnies. I think the Roosters are overrated. They're also missing Radley. I think they're missing Radley this week with their head knock.
Yeah.
Saw some really concerning quotes from people around him about his head knocks. They're obviously taking it very seriously, and it wasn't the club. It wasn't the club. It was people around him. And it just, I don't know. He's a smaller dude for a forward. He plays pretty tough, but it doesn't matter if you're playing tough if you're getting knocked out every week.
No.
So, and I also believe, are they missing Jared Warey-Hargraves for this game?
Possibly.
I feel like they're missing one of their key forwards.
Tupou's out with a groin injury, and Lindsay Collins got suspended.
Oh, it was Lindsay Collins. Lindsay Collins, yeah. So that worries me a little bit. And, yes, I'm leaning towards the Rabbitohs for this one.
The other thing, too, for South, because they haven't been on this huge winning streak, but I think if you look at their form line since round 16, they're not exactly in poor form. So they beat Parramatta 30-12. They beat the Knights by 12. They beat Canterbury by 8. They beat Melbourne by 12. They lost to the Sharks by 1. Beat the Warriors by 38. They beat Parramatta by 26. Kept them scoreless. Lost to Penrith by 4, and then beat the Cowboys by 10. Their 2 losses have been against the top 2 teams in the comp at the moment.
Yeah.
One by 1 point, the other by 4 points.
Yeah, and I think the only really super disappointing one there was the Panthers one, just because the Panthers were without their halves, their starting halves. All the other ones were, even that loss to the Sharks, it's a close game against the second best team. Yeah. So yeah, they're the one I think most teams would be scared about in the finals, just being able to roll through everyone.
Yeah, and they are very, very capable of that. And so they could actually move into 5th place with a win. If Parramatta loses, and South win, South will jump up to 5th, which means a home final for them. And Parramatta is then down to 6th. So there's still some reshuffling that's going to go on in the finals makeup. It's not, the top 8 isn't really settled at this stage. It can still move around a fair whack.
Yeah, I think that Parramatta really kind of need that. If they make the top 4, they make the top 4. Yeah. But Parramatta could really, if they don't make the top 4, they really could use that home field advantage, because that's a big one for them.
That's right. At this stage, if they lose, they are actually going to drop down, because it's the Roosters and Souths below them are only 1 win behind, but their points difference for both those clubs is better than Parramatta. So puts more pressure on Parramatta. If they lose, they will be down to 6th.
That's crazy, hey?
Yeah.
Damn, the ladder's cool sometimes like that.
Who we got next year?
So the first game on Saturday sees the New Zealand Warriors at home to the Gold Coast Titans. On PalmerBet.com, the New Zealand Warriors are favourites at $1.54.
I've got a stat that'll tell you why.
Okay. The Gold Coast Titans are at $2.50. The Gold Coast Titans on PalmerBet.com have a 5.5 point head start. You'll get $1.90 for that. And with a 5.5 point handicap, the New Zealand Warriors are also at $1.90. I'm guessing you're about to hit me with some ridiculous one-sided stat, because the Warriors are putrid, and I know that the Titans are putrid, but I would have gone with just the talent edge that the Titans have here. So what's the stat?
There's 2 of them. The Titans have lost all of their last 14 away games by an average margin of 14 points. And the Titans have had just 1 win in New Zealand in the last decade, and that was in 2015.
No way.
They're pretty significant.
Why? That's terrible.
Titans are just hopeless away from, and that's not like just games that go away from Robina. That's just games away from whatever their designated home ground is.
Damn.
That's a pretty poor run of form. Are the Warriors favourites? Do they deserve to be favourites? No. They are right now the worst defensive team in the comp, comfortably. It's by 40 points or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they've conceded 50 points more than the West Tigers, who were last. They're horrid. So I'm not backing the Warriors in this one. I will go the Titans. It's going to be probably as hard to watch as the Tigers-Dragons game last week.
I am going to say I think the Titans will win this game, right? And Tino might win it on his own. Brimson's been in great form too, as has Campbell.
Brimson is a real trier. Like, no matter what happens, he keeps busting his gut. I really like that about him. And Campbell's just, mate, he's just got so much natural raw talent, that kid.
Did you see him hold up? I can't remember who it was, and he didn't quite hold them up for a try last week. They finally got there, but just the fact that I wish I could remember who it was. Damn, but it was a big dude, and he almost held them up, and he had no right to even get close to doing it. He's just so strong for such a slight dude.
Was that Saifidi?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, yes, because he ended up scoring. And it just how much does he give away in size to him? Like, it could be 45 kilos or something. Like,
it's a fair whack.
Yeah.
It's a fair whack.
So, and he almost held him up. He managed to turn his whole body around. So, but I would say that I think the Titans will win, but I'm going to tip the New Zealand Warriors just because I've got to make up some ground. And if all the stats are pointing that way, I'm going to go with the stats.
Alrighty.
Now, the second game on Saturday evening sees the St. George Illawarra Steelers take on the Brisbane Broncos.
Oh my God.
The Steelers actually at home, or are they at Kogarah?
It's at Kogarah.
Okay, so the Steelers playing at Kogarah. Yeah, this game is gonna be a hard suck. That's what she said. On PalmerBet.com, the St. George Illawarra Steelers are outsiders at $2.35, while the Brisbane Broncos are favourites at $1.60. The Brisbane Broncos have a 3.5 point handicap. That's at $1.90, while the St. George Illawarra Steelers have a 3.5 point start. That's also at $1.90. I've got to go the Broncos in this one because the Dragons, they suck. They suck really badly. Ben Hunt's the only player that is doing anything. They didn't want to play one whole half of football last week, and they managed to drag themselves back into the contest, even allowing for that. But I don't think the Broncos will allow them to not play one half of football.
All right, quick trivia question.
Okay.
Out of all the people who have been involved in this game, Dragons and Broncos, only one of them played the last time the Broncos had a win at Kogarah Oval.
One of them played.
Yeah. So,
let me think.
So, of the people involved in this game, not specifically a player.
I know, that's what got me. You're not going to get me with your word games here, Andrew.
That's right.
Ferguson.
Only one of the people involved in this game was involved in the last Broncos win at Kogarah Oval.
Is it Dean Young?
No.
Who was it?
Kevin Walters.
No fucking way.
The last Broncos win at Kogarah Oval was in 1998. They've lost all four games there since.
That's crazy.
Also, there's been 32 scores of 50 or more racked up in the entire NRL since 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Most of them have been against the Broncos. They've had 7 put on them in that time.
Wow. Well, that's when they had Super Coach Seabold, a lot of that, hey?
Some of them were last year as well.
Yeah.
And obviously this year now too.
But last year was definitely still a hangover from Seabold's defensive.
Last 2 weeks haven't been much better.
Yeah, that's true.
I think actually the last 2 weeks have been their worst defensive fortnight in their history because they've conceded 113 points in 2 games.
Yeah, it's been really bad for them. And did you see that Walters gave a massive spray to the team, and then reports started coming out in the media that some of the players weren't happy with it, and every single last former Bronco said, these fucking players need to shut their mouths, which I thought was awesome.
Exactly right. You don't like it? Don't get fucking 60 points put on you one week and then follow up with 50 points put on you the next.
Exactly. What Kevin Walters is doing at the Broncos is still outstanding to me. I love watching it. He's doing his best.
The fact he's got him that close to a finals berth, given where they came from, nothing short of miraculous.
Like having a turnaround, as lazy defense as you will ever see, having to turn around a culture so quickly, and as you say, so close to making the finals. And the players have really let down Walters in these last couple of weeks because they should have made the finals.
Yeah.
They should have been in the finals.
Now they're in a position where if they're going to make the finals, they need to, they've got to make up 44 points difference between them and the Raiders. And as we'll find out, that task gets bigger given who the Raiders are playing this week.
Yeah.
So they've got to make up 44 points difference, plus whatever margin the Raiders, could win by. And fucking good luck.
Which could be, they could have to score 100 points.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen.
No. Okay, so who are you tipping in that one, by the way?
I'm going Dragons in that one. I think they'll probably, I reckon they might win by 14.
Oh, that's an interesting one. Why Dragons?
You know what? I've not seen them being too horrendous, as in not Brisbane Broncos style horrendous in the last few weeks. They've come up against some good teams that have touched them up a little bit, but defensively they look a little bit, I'm not talking by much, but they look a little bit more intelligent than the Broncos do.
Okay.
Broncos defense right now they're already in fucking Bali, that defensive line.
Yeah, I agree.
They've clocked out.
The club is already lining up to pay off somebody, a local Bali resident.
Yeah, half of them are on the Jewel of the Nile.
Yeah. So, Saturday night, it's a blockbuster. This is actually a really, really interesting game that I don't know that we've ever seen a game like this before. The North Queensland Cowboys are favourites over the defending NRL and world champion Penrith Panthers. The North Queensland Cowboys on palmerbet.com in the head-to-head are at $1.10 versus the Panthers, who are at $6.75. The Panthers have a 19.5-point head start at $1.95, which, I don't know, that interests me a little bit. Whereas the North Queensland Cowboys with the 19.5-point handicap are at $1.85, so there's been some money coming in there. Now, the scenario here is the North Queensland Cowboys have to win to get back into second spot.
Yes, especially if Cronulla loses.
Yes, they have to win big. And the Panthers are resting basically their entire first-grade team. So this is going to be the Panthers' reserve-grade team running out.
Yeah, now, as Fox Sports told us yesterday on Twitter, Taylor Mack and James Fish-Harris, they're going to get rested before making their debut.
Now, without Mack and Fish-Harris, we're no hope. Okay,
no, you can't lose Mack.
They're out. Mack especially. Mack is the big one.
I've been waiting all year for Mack to play.
Oh, you know what his nickname is?
Truck?
Nah, Big.
Oh, Big.
That jokes aside, I don't think we've ever seen a game where one team is fielding basically almost the entire reserve grade team against an NRL quality side who is actually going to go out there and try and win big. So it's going to be...
Yeah, this is like every West Tigers game. What are you on about?
Well, you know.
I've got a number for you for this one.
Okay, give me
a target for the Cowboys.
Okay.
By kickoff, it will have been 1,029,490 minutes since the Cowboys last scored a point against the Panthers.
No way.
Round 19, 2020.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I've done the fucking research.
That's insane. Wow.
I went looking at timestamps and everything.
Timestamps. Wow. That's why you're employed here, Andrew.
That's why I'm here. I've earned my coin right there.
Yeah. I'm just here for all of the crew jokes.
Aren't we all?
That's what she said. Yeah, look, I don't know how much the Cowboys are going to win by. I could see where maybe the 19.5-point head start is something you could look at as a real outside sort of bet. But the problem is the Panthers are going to find it hard to score. This could be a gigantic scoreline. This could, if you said that the Cowboys are going to score 80-plus points, I wouldn't be super shocked because it is literally a first-grade team that is in the top three that has to have a big win versus a reserve-grade team.
I don't think it's going to be that lopsided.
Okay.
I think what you'll find is the Cowboys will try and get to a 2 or 3 try converted lead if things are going their way.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll just have benching everyone that's a named player. Tormalolo, the lot of them. I'll just put them all on the bench for as long as possible so they don't get hurt. And so you'll just see the last half hour of the game is just 2 teams doing a post-training drill.
Okay.
It has the potential to turn into a very mundane affair. But the first half is where this game's going to be won and lost. I don't think it's going to be a massive blowout.
Okay, that's interesting.
I wouldn't be surprised it's going to be one of those games where the Cowboys win like 40-26 or something like that. I know it sounds big, but it's only a 14-point win. So
Yeah.
I don't think it's not going to be that dramatic, but it's going to be something where both teams are going to get a few tries on the board. But I think the Cowboys should win by at least 2 converted tries.
I think that if it was most other clubs, you would say their reserve grade team is going to get annihilated no matter what, even if the other team decides to rest their players halfway through the second half. But, Penrith's depth we've seen really shines, and I could see where they're a bit of a nuisance, But it's going to be really cool to see what happens. I'm really looking forward to this game, just to see what it looks like when a reserve grade team plays a first grade team. But it's hard to not tip the Cowboys. You've got to tip the Cowboys.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Now, Sunday afternoon, we see what is left of the Newcastle Knights. It's kind of sad, really. It's like the memory of the Newcastle Knights. They host the Cronulla Sutherland Sharks. The Newcastle Knights are outsiders on palmerbet.com at $5.50, while the Cronulla Sharks are at $1.15. The Cronulla Sharks have an 18.5-point handicap at $1.90, while with the 18.5-point head start, the Newcastle Knights are also at $1.90. I think that it's going to be something similar to what you said with the Cowboys here in terms of the Sharks will make sure they've got the money, the game in the bag, and then they'll start resting key players in the second half, if not sooner, because the Knights are hopeless. It's really sad what's happened in Newcastle.
I expect the Sharks to run up a big lead in the first half and then just start benching guys.
Mm-hmm.
But I wouldn't be surprised if they get to mid-30s or 40 points in this one. The Knights' defense it's just a mess. Their attack they're just doing, a few training drills and things like kicking to the corner. Just put a kick up and see what happens. Hope the ball bounces the right way or something. There's not a huge amount of shape or structure to it at the moment. And it hasn't been for a few weeks. It's just ordinary to watch.
Yeah, it's crap. It's absolute crap football.
The Sharks last week, I know it wasn't a great game, but you can see the Sharks are trying something different. So instead of constantly going to their edge runners who run really good in, lines infield, so Wade Graham, Talakai, Nakora, all brilliant at running back in against the grain and isolating the weak shoulder of the defender. They stopped doing a lot of that. And they started in this thing where they just got those runners to just run straighter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the whole idea, I think there was another one where Moylan went to the right side early in the game and he passed early, kind of like just trying to read what the defense is going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And the defense rushed up really fast on him. So the next time they went down, then he went that way. He held the ball up for ages and just watched the defence run past him. They just threw a pass between the defenders out to the unmarked winger, and they scored easy try. And I went, that's what the Sharks are getting good at, is they're not going down there thinking we need to score every play. They're playing with patience really well at the moment. So they'll go down, they'll throw a few different things at what a team's defensive does, just learn what they'll do. And then they'll try and construct a play around it to try and get through it afterwards. And it's been remarkable watching them play a more patient, intelligent type of game plan like that. There's a very unique sort of structure about what they're doing. So I think, and the one thing I'm pretty sure I said that they were going to focus on last week was not so much scoring a big win, but trying to not have any points conceded. And that's what they went out and did. I think they'll be trying to do the same thing here, no matter who's on the field. Right? We need to keep the Knights to under 10. Yeah. That'll be their goal.
Yeah.
Because the defence has been working pretty well of late. I think they'll be wanting to keep that going. If Knights get to more than 16, they're not going to be happy, even if they win.
Yeah, and look, I'd be shocked if the Knights got 16.
Oh, likewise.
They're just so bad. Yeah. The last game, speaking of so bad, the last game of the 2022 regular season sees the West Tigers hosting the Canberra Raiders. The Raiders have it all to play for in this game. Now, the West Tigers on palmerbet.com are outsiders at $3.50, whereas the Canberra Raiders are only at $1.31. The Canberra Raiders have an 11.5-point handicap at $1.90, whereas the West Tigers have an 11.5-point head start, also at $1.90. I could see the Canberra Raiders having to declare in this game. I think the Raiders are going to absolutely, puree the West Tigers.
Again.
Yeah.
Here's the situation for the Tigers. They've never had a wooden spoon before.
Yes.
If they want to avoid this wooden spoon, they need the Warriors to beat the Titans by at least 30 points. If we keep that, right, achievable, then the Tigers need to beat Canberra. Hang on. by at least 40 points.
Oh, my God.
They've got a 72-point margin of difference between themselves and the Titans that they need to clear up. So it's 36 points either way. If the Titans lose by 36 and the Tigers win by 36, the Tigers move up to 15th by one solitary point on the points difference.
Yes. Now, the Raiders are on the same amount of competition points as the Broncos.
Yes.
Right. And that means that if the Broncos win against the Dragons, the Raiders have to win to be in the top 8, to be 8th place.
That's correct.
The Raiders can't move up into 6th place at all. They just can't do it. They're for and against us too bad.
That's right, yeah.
But
although,
yeah, well, they only have to make up what is it,
123 points.
3 points, yeah. So
there's 160 minutes in a game.
Well, you know what? I guess if the Rabbitohs got flogged, right, absolutely flogged for some reason, then you would have to say the Raiders are in with a chance. If the Raiders had to score 70 points to nil, I wouldn't say they couldn't do it.
No. I think the Tigers, I'm going to be honest, and bear with me here, I think the Tigers played their grand final last week.
Yeah. Well, keep in mind, this is James Tamo's farewell match, which he apparently earned for some reason.
Does that mean that we all get to tell him that he's fucking incompetent at the end of the game as well?
I'll always remember his time at the West Tigers. I'll try to forget it, but I'll always remember it.
It'll be in the backlog with all the other great forwards that the Tigers have had.
Who would that be?
It's a long list.
Yeah.
Look, I don't have the time to go through all their great forwards.
No, maybe we can do an episode about that.
Yeah,
but yeah, this.
Do you want some numbers for this one?
Yeah, hit me with some numbers, because all I think of is this is going to be like a poker machine going off this game. You know.
Yeah, the numbers don't help.
This will be like when you get the 3 Indians, or you get the 3 pyramids, or more chilies. It's just going to be amazing.
This is 4 pyramids when you're already on the free spins.
Yeah. You get the free goes again. This is when all of a sudden something goes off and you've got to pick a card. All of a sudden, it's going to be so good.
The last time the Tigers had a home win against Canberra was in round 16, 2014.
Wow.
Since then, against the Raiders, they've had 2 wins from 12 games, conceding an average of 32 points per game and scoring less than 12 per game. Now, the only thing that works for them is that Canberra have won their last 2 games at Leichhardt. However, they have never, ever won 3 consecutive games at Leichhardt Oval.
Oh, there you go. This could be the last game we see at Leichhardt Oval. What am I talking about?
They'll at least get it to 100 years, so they've still got 12 years to go.
Fingers crossed they get there. I mean the club, the West Tigers in general.
Why can't it be fine? Why can't it be fine?
Yeah, this is one of those matchups in the NRL that really is like a historically bad matchup for one club. Look, I am tipping the Raiders to win by 56.
Look, the Raiders currently are the only team in the top 9 that have not scored at least 500 points.
Oh, wow.
They're 32 points from the mark. That should be achieved by almost half time.
The over-under for this game on palmerbet.com, the line is set at 49.5 points. So the over is $1.90. I know we say gamble responsibly.
It's hard to at that rate.
Sell kidneys, you can do without part of your liver, you can do with one lung. And on eyeball, you've got a spare. Just sell everything you've got and put it into the over.
Man.
But gamble responsibly.
The points difference for the Tigers over their last 4 games is minus 94. That's the margin of loss combined in 4 fucking games.
Damn,
94.
Yes, it's so shit.
And one of those games was a 2-point loss, and the other one was a 4-point loss.
Wow. Oh boy. Okay, so I've got to ask you a question. As a West Tigers fan, how do you go into a game like this? Do you just go into a game like this thinking, I'm not going to watch it? Do you go and think resigned to like anything less than a 70-point thrashing is just positive? Do you go into it just thinking I don't care anymore? How do you approach it?
When it comes to the West Tigers and the last few rounds of the season, if there's anything, as in any reason to put in a good performance, it might be because they're sitting 9th and they need to win one of their last 3 games against the 3 worst teams in the comp to make the finals.
Mm-hmm.
You know they're going to lose all 3, and then they go do it.
Mm-hmm.
This year they also had another reason, that was avoid your first ever wooden spoon. They just needed 1 win in their last 5 games, and that would have been enough. But they just got worse and worse and worse, and you just knew they're not going to do it. They're just going to lose all their games, and that's it. They're just going to be crap. And they're on their way there. So if the Knights win somehow and the Tigers lose, the Tigers will end up with the worst home ground record this year.
Mm-hmm. Which home ground? All of them.
What do you mean by which home ground? Every home ground is a home ground. The Tigers don't play away games.
I guess, yeah.
All they know is home dressing rooms.
They still have the worst home ground record.
Yeah. They've had 2 wins and 9 losses at home this year. The only team that bad is the Knights. They've had the same. Difference being the Tigers' points difference at home is minus 89. The Knights is minus 183.
What the hell?
It's minus 100 points more.
Yeah.
Canberra's away record is not great.
Mm-hmm.
5 wins and 6 losses. I say not great. They're in the top 8. It should be a bit better than that.
Mm.
But that's, yeah. The Tigers got something to play for. It could be commemorating an absolute icon's fucking legacy. Anything like that. Anytime there's a reason to put in a good performance, they don't.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, whenever there's an occasion, they're really bad.
You can bank on them to lose.
Yeah,
Every
and lose
fucking
big.
time.
Yeah.
And they know how to lose big to Canberra. Let's just have a look at some of their more recent results against Canberra, shall we? Just to round out the episode. We'll start at 2016, shall we? So these are the Raiders wins: 60-6, then 52-10, then 46-6, then 48-12. Then the Tigers had a win in 2018 by 2 points, 22-20. Then Canberra won the last four: 28-0, 20-12, 14-6, and 30-12. Scoring points for the Raiders against Tigers is so easy. So easy.
I also think that there's something about this being the last game of the season, right? And literally the Tigers will know everyone's watching and the Raiders will know everyone's watching, and the Raiders could very well have, it's a win you're in, lose you're out. And there's just a lot of things lining up where this could be like a public sacrifice that we're all watching, where this game is even you could see where even NRL players start texting each other saying, "You're watching a fucking Tigers game, dude. You got to get it on on the TV. This is crazy." That sort of game.
Yeah.
Like if I said to you, the Tigers had 2 players sent off and lost by 78 points.
Not surprised.
Yeah. We could see something like that.
Yeah. I'm just looking here at the Tigers' last round. So last year they lost 38-0 to the Bulldogs in the last round. What was it in 2020? I'm trying to remember now. Where is it here? Oh, yeah, they lost to Parramatta 28-24. In 2019, they lost to Cronulla 25-8 when they actually had a shot at making the finals. Was
that the game where Robbie Farah was drinking on the scoreboard?
No, that was the game when Farah, I think, came out to play with a pretty nasty leg injury, and Gallen kicked a field goal. Yeah. Didn't need to. It was a disrespectful field goal.
Well, Paul Gallen just has something extra in him as a player and as an athlete. I don't know what it is, but it's just some sort of extra, I don't know, something special.
And in 2018, in the last round of the year, the Tigers lost to South 51-10. And that was a massive capitulation. And I think the Tigers might have been close to a finals berth that year as well.
Well, I guess for a long time they were always close to a finals berth, weren't they?
No, they finished ninth that year.
Shocking.
2018, ninth. Oh, they weren't close to finals berth. They were 3 wins clear of the 8.
Oh.
And they finished clearly ninth. But there you go. Tigers and last round losses. No one does it better.
Yeah, they're pretty good at that. So that is the regular season that we will be wrapping up. Now, we've got a couple of emails. Shall we get into them?
We should.
Now, our first one is from Neil, and the subject is new rugby league cities. And Neil's from England, so there's going to be some English sayings that I use here, so just be ready for that. He says, "All right, lads, I love the pod, you mentalists. The only way I see league properly expanding over in England," he says here, but he means in England, "is if the teams become part of the local football club and played their games at the same stadium, like the Newcastle Thunder joining Newcastle's soccer team. Look at Lass's footy. It's absolutely shite, but the crowds can be massive." He's talking about women's soccer.
Yep.
The crowds can be huge for those, hey? Barcelona have women kicking a ball around with over 90,000 at Nou Camp, and basketball is massive in Spain too. I really can't see putting a brand new team in, say, Broome. What's Broome?
Wasn't that a little kid show with a little car that talks?
It's got to be English slang for somewhere in England. Broome.
Broome. How's it spelled it?
Brum. Not Birmingham he's talking about, is it?
It's not Carsten, is it?
Carsten Brummer.
Man, I basically just rolled out 2 dad jokes in a row there.
He did.
I'm going to have to walk away.
Joked me.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says, I really can't see putting a brand new team in, say, Broome, Edinburgh, Cardiff, or whatever working at all. Towns that have had clubs for 100 years struggle to get fans in. He makes a good point there. I see most NRL matches online and there are swathes of empty seats and it's a mega sport in Australia. But I really hope IMG can come up with the answers. Cheers, Neil. So he makes some really, really good points there.
Well, look, they will come up with the answers because we gave it to them.
He makes some really good points there. I don't know. I think that, I don't know if they're linking up. The problem is I don't know that the soccer teams in England have that drive to link up with other sports. And
it would work because the reason why it would work is they're not going to see rugby league and as a threat to what they do, and nor should they. It's not. They're 2 very wildly different games. But yeah, it could definitely work. There's no doubt about it.
Oh, it could work. I just don't. I think if you went to the soccer clubs and said, like, what if you did this link up with this team and stuff, I think they'd just say, why? What do we get out of it?
We had it with Manchester City did it with the Melbourne Storm down here.
Yeah, but that was ownership's kind of cross-ownership thing. It wasn't so much
that's the sort of thing that they should be looking at in England.
Cross-ownership.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know. Part of me just thinks that the soccer teams won't be interested. I could be totally wrong.
Hey,
if
they can take a financial ruin of a club like the Melbourne Storm, because they were, right? They were not making huge coin. There's talk that when Fox Sports got rid of the Storm, they were costing them like $4 million a year or something.
Yeah, but I always, there's a couple of things that come out of that. First of all, Fox Sports itself was underfunding the game. So there was that.
True.
And so when Fox Sports, when we had the independent commission and we actually got a real broadcasting deal, then basically no club was underfunded. Like no club could honestly say, well, we're underfunded. It's like, no, you're funded correctly from now on. Every club is.
I know, but it's more the point that nearly every single NRL club has a lease club to help complement the football team's finances.
Mm-hmm.
The Storm don't have that.
Yeah.
So they were relying on Fox Sports just Fox to tally up the rest of the bill at the end of the year and pay that for them. That's pretty much how it was working, as far as I can tell. And that bill was several $1 million every year. Whereas I would not imagine that a Super League team, especially if you can get the Super League competition condensed into less weeks, so that you don't need to have as many players being paid, and you don't have as many ground costs because you're not playing in games as often. If you can find a way to reduce the cost per club for Super League, and even the competitions below it, they wouldn't cost that much to run compared to an NRL club. And a Premier League team, even a second division one, would probably look at them and just go, yeah, like your club's worth about the same as our most expensive player.
Yeah, look, and I also think one of the things that I would look at is that I know that Premier League teams have a lot of money involved with them, but having a lot of money from broadcasting deals doesn't necessarily mean you're very good at running a club. So it's
about just financial security for the clubs.
Yeah,
that's it. And then the money that the Super League clubs are getting from Super League could be purely for player payments. And once you've got players' salaries like absolutely rock solid, players are going to get paid. You start to build a bit of interest in the game again, because players will go, they'll play it, they'll stay within it, they'll come to it knowing that they are definitely going to get paid. Whereas one of the issues now, I feel, is a lot of players are apprehensive about joining a team that's not St Helens, Wigan, Leeds, Hull, Catalan, to a lesser extent because they're not sure that they're going to get their money.
That's true.
And so there's that apprehension there. But if you can secure the players' salaries and you just have the clubs, right? Your job is you need to make sure that you can run the rest of the club at not at a loss. If you ever need cash, then you go to the Premier League team and say, look, we just need a little bit of coin on top. You wouldn't actually be a burden on the Premier League team, but you'd be getting the promotion and the audience. They can promote it through that system. That's pretty much what you're going for there, to get them on that big stage and get the name spread around everywhere.
But what
That's
does
kind
the
of what
Premier
you're
League team get out of all of that?
Who cares?
But they do.
Yeah, but they're not getting that much. They're not losing anything more often than not.
Yeah, but what do they get? Like, there's no reason for
Well,
them to do it.
They can get a bit of an audience in the north of England.
They've already got that.
Nah, they all play in London.
I'm
sure they could negotiate something to go either way. It wouldn't be hard.
But what? I would love it to be the case, but
It'd just be some promotional thing or something like that. Maybe sharing sponsors.
It would be like Penrith Rugby Union Club going to the Panthers and saying, listen, hey, how about you fund us, right? And and the Panthers would be like, why the fuck would we ever do that? Like, there's zero reason to. Like, you're a bunch of park footballers.
Put it this way, maybe there could be some. Look, this is a hypothetical.
Okay.
There might be a few English rugby league players that are not so very good at rugby league, but could actually be good at soccer. We'll funnel them across to the team that's looking after us. We've done part of the work for you.
Who would be the weirdest rugby league player to see? It would be like, can you imagine seeing Junior Paulo playing
soccer?
Soccer, yeah. Just no one that plays soccer is the same like shape or size as him. It'd be so weird.
That'd be good.
Yeah.
I'd have loved to have seen Willie Mason play soccer.
Willie Mason, yeah.
He wouldn't try and run around people with fancy footwork. He wouldn't even care if the ball's there.
Yeah, true.
I'd love to see Willie Mason just playing basketball. He just drive the lane where doesn't even care if there's a ball or if there's a lane. We're playing 10-pin bowling. Who gives a fuck?
It'd be interesting to see rugby league players play a game of basketball. Hey, I wonder how that would look. I bet you'd have some players that would be like good at it, but then, and I'm not talking like in an international level. I'm just talking like having NRL players playing NRL players.
Just street basketball.
Yeah. Because there'd be ones that were into basketball, but then there'd be others who weren't so much into it that would probably look really awkward.
See, I find with basketball, after having played a bit of league, is when you play exclusively basketball, you're trying to avoid a lot of contact because you know it's going to draw a foul or it's going to lead to you having a bit of a fuck up. So you try to avoid the contact. After you've played league, you intentionally seek out contact because you know you can't avoid it. You have to there has to be contact.
Yeah.
So you don't try and run around it. And you find that the first few times you run at someone when you got the ball, the defense gets out of your way because they don't want to draw a foul. Well, because they moved, you go, oh, I'm just going to keep charging.
I always found because at my high school, we had the kids who had that played footy, and I was one of those, and then the kids that played basketball, and there was no mixing there in terms of like just you never had the basketball ones come down to play footy, and the ones that were playing footy were happy playing footy, so they never went up and I played basketball. But when it would be like PE and we all had to play basketball together, the footy players were just savages. It was just like the basketball players hated it. It was why are you letting these like savages at us? This isn't what we're supposed to be doing. So yeah, it was a little bit like that.
We had a bit of that. It was funny though watching the footy players in defence compared to the basketball. So the basketball players will do that thing where they put their hands down across their front, right? And they just let people run into them. Whereas the footy players would just sit there and they just drop the fucking shoulder into you and run out. You fucking hit the floor.
I used to immediately, because all of my favourite basketball players were centres and forwards. So I just used to go and just rebound like crazy. I had no right to be getting the rebounds I was getting, but, I was just used to the contact and stuff. Like, it wasn't even contact to me. Like, we were jumping up to get the ball and I'd get it.
Yeah.
And I always remember that. That was good fun. Oh, man. So yeah, I guess that's our thoughts on that. Now, we've got another email here from Nui Ash, one of our long-time listeners. He says, just a quick heads up, watch out for Sunai Tuuva, I think his name is.
Yeah, you nailed that.
Yep. Getting a starting spot in the Panthers NRL team this weekend. He's an absolute weapon.
Okay. Is he friends with Taylor Mack?
Look, everyone's friends with Talon Mack. That isn't the song "Return of the Mac" about Talon Mack?
It might be. Imagine being friends with Taylor Mack and having the work ethic of James Fish Harris.
Oh man, you'd have the perfect player.
You would.
With Mack's personality,
yeah,
and the showy way he plays the game,
yeah,
and then Fish Harris's like work ethic, it's just you'd have the perfect player.
You've basically got Nigel Plum again.
Yeah, exactly. Without the headgear.
Yeah.
Because headgears don't do anything except prevent cuts. And major concussions. No,
that's also where you hide the end of the bandaging if you're Nigel Plum, because you have bandages on him.
Some players that like just 100% of the time get cuts.
Yeah. And don't know about it. This is what we're going, oh, that's bleeding.
Yeah, especially in the past. I was watching somebody, you know who it was? It was Stephen Crichton. And he was lining up a kick. I believe he'd scored the try on the weekend. And he's lining up a kick and his mouth is bleeding. And he just lines up, kicks it, and the trainer runs over and starts wiping his face. And he's like wipes the blood away. And I was thinking, like, for most people, if their mouth was bleeding like that right now, they would be like just horrified, and he just doesn't give a fuck, It's like his mouth is pissing blood, and it's like, yeah, whatever, let's get back to playing footy. I just found that funny. Well, that is our episode preview for what is it, round 25 of the
That is the one. That is the one.
Make sure you all put your tips in for the round. We love bringing you this, and so does PalmerBet.com. PalmerBet.com not only has rugby league betting, but it has horse racing, greyhound racing. You can bet on other sports. It's just such a fantastic service. So go to PalmerBet.com, sign up, and support the people that support us.
Absolutely. And always remember to gamble responsibly, people.
Yes, 100% of the time.
And with that being said, that'll wrap up this episode. Thanks for tuning in. You can check us out on the socials on Instagram and Twitter at Fergo Freak Pod. We're on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube as well. So check us out over there. And we'll catch you all next time.
Palmerbet with the big don't argue. Punters will love that.
Download our app today and enjoy tackle busting benefits with great odds, more markets and same game multi every NRL match at Palmerbet. Gamble responsibly. For Gamblers' Help, call 1-800-858-858.